Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we are...
Before this video starts, I just like...
What? On page AYIN, and we are still 5 lines from the top. The line begins with the word adayan, although we already belabored this a little bit. But now we need to labor it a little bit more. At the end of that line, I told you at the end, the word begins with shetach. So we are now correlating the two principles of the three oils, 3 levels of oil, to a kind of a more defining element that's called Nakuda Kaf Shetach. We discussed the first two, Nakuda and Kaf. Now we're up to Shetach. So far we said the Kaf is where the content of the Nakuda becomes revealed, surfaces. That itself, the fact that the content surfaces, is indicative of the fact that there is a reduction of oil. Because when the oil is in full glory, then you don't notice anything else. This principle also we discussed. So we said that although that in the Kav there are points, which means that there is a surfacing of the content of the Nakuda, but everything that is recognized there, it is just the way it is in the Nakuda. There's no retranslation of the points that are revealed. It is revealed the way it is in the Nakuda, and therefore it remains what is called Shitus and Hiyulius. In other words, a fundamental truth, not as it is identified on the functional level. Where it is in its source. Shetach. Then there's a third level, it's called shetach. Shetach is when the word shetach means space, expanse. Which means that the oil can now be viewed from a shetach perspective rather than from a nakuda, from a point perspective. It can be viewed from a shetach perspective. Shetach hu k'mei she'ha'oiro is mislapshim b'kelim. That is at the point where the oiro is mislavish in the kelim. Kelim means that the presence is now translatable and identifiable relative to the place where it is recognized, not as it emanates from the source, but as it is present in its place. Shanasim, when the oil is become the Bechinas oil hachochmo v'oil hachesed. The oil is become identifiable as entities rather than as revealing and speaking of the etzem of the source. Kifi mahuz hakeli. At the level and according to the mahuz hakeli, or to the reality of the keli. Ve'einon b'bchinas pshitus, not in a pshitus manner, k'may ha'oiris mitzad atzmam, as the oiris are on their own mitzad atzmam, from their own perspective. The oiris mitzad atzmam, the oil, the pure oil, represents the truth of the etzem. It is true because the etzem is true, not because the oil has a place and a function. Whereas when it comes mahuz hakelim, then the oil is identified by its effect, by its function. This is called shetach. It participates in a different environment, an environment of place, space and time. And that changeover, where the oil has become k'fi mahuz hakeli, as the keli itself is, at the level of the keli. Again, in our Mishalim, which we have elaborated enormous lot. And the primary emotion that we have been using is the home and its amenities. We said that even though that there is amenities, there is a bed and there's a table, it's part of the truth of the home. But when that translates in the actual keli, then it assumes a new level of definition. It is a place to sit. And this sitting is true only due to the new environment where it is, because the neshama does not need to sit. The seichel does not need to sit. Sitting is where it needs to settle down in a, so to speak, on the worldly level. This is where the oir is mislabish in the keli, that we discussed many times. That it is very revealing, the fact that even though a person is a paseichel and he primarily is involved in a life element, and yet sitting at the table is something that he relates to very naturally, as if it is part of his nature. This is where the oir is mislabish in the keli. The oir is reduced from its primary state of an oil emanating from the neshama, representing the truth of the human being, to a functional level. This is called shetach. And then the oiros are not b'bchinas pshitus k'mei oiros v'intonatzon. Ad shepoyalim, to the point where they can affect, the oiros can affect his havus, the biyah, the coming forth and the creation of biyah, of b'riyah yitzira asira, completed there at a different level of world. Kifi oifen hakelim, kifi oifen hakelim, according to the manner and the level of the keli. In other words, now the oiros give place for the world rather than representing the life of the neshama, of Elokus.
Rather than means like more as well as. They give room for these lights to not give place for the world, while at the same time representing the source, or no longer representing the source?
Giving an inspiration from the source in the worldly environment.
Okay.
But primarily it becomes in the worldly environment. Ja. והדוגמה בזה when we start thinking about this, it is necessary to always remember, despite the fact that the oil becomes a decaying and it becomes fully identifiable from a worldly perspective, there is one principle that must be retained no matter where it is identified. That is, that this is a godly creation. It retains a godly principle. It does not exist on its own per se. It is not the world that creates it. It is reflected in the world, understood by the world, but the concept itself is not created by the world. This is important to understand. Yes, light settles into the world and you can see worldly objects in a manner that it does not negate the world and you can see worldly objects. Nonetheless, the concept of sight, of light, is a godly concept. It is a godly creation. Although it settles in perfectly, so to speak, in the worldly environment. The fact that it can be explained from a worldly perspective does not give it its presence. This is just that the godly concept is settling into in the worldly environment. But the concept remains a godly concept. Principle, a godly creation. That is true regardless where it is. You go to work and you get paid. And that gives you a parnasa. It is not the work and it's not the pay. It is the godly bracha that gives you the parnasa. Even to the extent that the Pasuk says, Hashem lo yibne bayis shava mo beinav. You can build and build and build, pull bricks upon brick, and you'll never build a house. A house is built by Hashem's directives, command. Now that principle must be retained no matter where you go. Dogma what represents this dogma? What gives you a so to speak, a clear demonstration of this union. Yeshlema. It can be said, K'moi ba'atzilus ruche shel meisha al askein. That was what took place. Atzilus means emanation, bringing forth Ruach Shel Meisha, the spirit from Meisha, al Haskenim, on the elders. What happened was that Eden demanded that they should have meat. And Moshe said, this is, I cannot go to that place. So the Hashem said you should gather 70 Zikanim, and they will be with you, and then I will bring forth from your spirit upon the Zikanim. And when the Zikanim got from Moshe's spirit, that enabled that on this spirit should then result what the Eden needed in the world.
But this is in the line starting by Dugma Bezer.
What? Or Dugma?
Yeah. Did we cover the previous two lines with Achepo Limat Hitavus?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we did all that? Okay.
Yeah.
I was taking notes, fine.
Yeah, definitely. All right.
So this is a dogma for, a dogma for what now?
This is a dogma for the oil settling in the world, the environment. Creating the world. Atzilus Ruchi Shal Moshe. I don't know if you're familiar with it. That Moshe's spirit was emanated al Hazkenim, and it settled on the Zkenim, on the elders. What happened then? Hooray! So then, behold, they shenoch al Hazkenim, as a result of the fact that it settled on the Zkenim, Moshe's spirit. The principle behind this, you may not be familiar. The principle behind this is this. The Eden demanded meat. Moshe said that this is too far. He can't relate to that request. He can't come down. Moshe is in a different reality. But nonetheless, that gift of Basar had to come from Moshe. All hashmos have to come through Moshe. So then, Hashem said that he should gather 70 Zkenim, and they will be there in the oil made. And Hashem said that I will take and emanate from your spirit unto the Zkenim, unto the elders. And what happens as a result of that? When Moshe's spirit descended, settled on the elders, he was reduced to a level where they can relate to meat. As a result of that, the Eden were able to be supplied their request of meat. This is what we're going to read now inside. Al-Harei, behold, Alidei shenoch al Hazkenim, as a result of the fact that Ruchi shel Moshe's spirit of Moshe, settled on the Zkenim, on the elders. Hoyo yochel liyos hashpoas habosar. That enabled that there should be hashpoah, the gift of meat. That which was not possible to come from Moshe's spirit directly, as it is by him. Not by the intermediacy of this king. Because Moshe's ruach could not relate to Moshe, it was in a higher spiritual level. This is the principle of descending of the oil, coming into cave, to the point where it becomes like the cave, and it becomes fire in the world of the cave.
It's an interesting limitation. Usually we say about the tzaddik, the master, that he relates to the greatest amongst these people and to the lowest, the most simple. Here it seemed like he couldn't relate to their request.
It was still from him, but it had to go through an intermediate. Even in the time of the Gemara, when the master was giving a shir, there was what's called a meturgamon. The word meturgamon literally means translator. He was not a translator, a language translator. He was a translator of the idea that the Rav was teaching, bring it to the level of the student.
The Rav and Talmud were speaking the same language.
Which parsha is that whole thing with the meat in?
Baloischa, I think.
Yeah, it says here, Balasa, Yud Aleph, Yud Zayin. They were speaking the same language, right? But yet there was a meturgamon.
It's not a question of language, it's a question of presenting it in their form.
Right. But again, we have the concept, take the Rebbe, right? He meets with and relates to, the genius of a generation and the simpleton who comes to see him. This seems like an opposite issue, like an intermediary is needed. Okay.
The Rebbe said, Maimon Chassidus, and you still need the interpretation to understand what the Rebbe said. You found it?
I'm looking for it, but
Okay. Let's I think we have time.
That's already the next parsha. Not gonna find it in the wrong one.
Almost up. Okay. I'll find it to you after the issue. The Zesha Kosov came in line that begins Haskein. Zesha Kosov, and this is what the Pasuk says. V'yotzalti min horuach asher alech. I will draw from the ruach, from the spirit that is upon you, Moshe. V'samti aleihem, and I will place it upon them, upon this king. Sheyesh bozeh beis dvorim. There are two principles taking place in there, representing. On the one hand, first of all, the Atzilus Ruach Shel Moshe. This is the emanation from the spirit of Moshe. Essentially, it is rooted in Moshe, which is Moshe's spirit. And then there's a second union of Masha Nochal Askim, the fact that this spirit is now resting on the skin.
Shenachal is a king.
The Hainu, which means to say, the Ba'atzilus Ruach Shel Moshe Levad, that by drawing from the emanation of Moshe's spirit alone, that alone, Hagam Shezehu Yirida Mimadrigosoi, although that represents definitely a descent from his madriga, it's an emanation, it's a revealing. It is not the way it is by Moshe himself. Nonetheless, Lehoyo Efshen Liyos Adayan, it was still not possible, Hashpoas Abosar, the bestowal of meat. Kiyim only, Alidei Shenochal Askenim. We'll go through it quickly and maybe we'll be repeating again, just if you have your point. Alidei Shenochal Askenim, as a result of the fact that it also rested upon this Kenim. Sheho Yubein Arechel Gabe Moshe, who were on a total different level than Moshe. They were would be part of the world. And they say, as a result of that, Nasa Ruach Shel Moshe, that effect, that the spirit of Moshe became Bo'oi from Kozeh in such a manner, Shiyeh Bo'oi V'al Yodei Hashpoas Habos. That through Moshe, through this spirit should come the Hashpoas Habos.
Okay. Rabbi?
What's
Okay.
that? Hashpoas Habos. Originally, from Moshe's spirit could not come this. But as a result of this ruach resting upon this kingdom, that was able to bring this spirit down to the point where Hashpoas Habos was possible. This is like a dogma and an illustration of the principle.
Is this through Masholim? Was this through Masholim, or through something more spiritual than that, more mystical?
It is through the Mesholim being understood by the Talmud.
Say that again, please. It's true
The Mashal being understood by the student,
by the student,
not the Mashal as it is presented by the Rav.
but the student has to use the mashalim of the Rav,
Yes.
and even though it's the same words, it will penetrate when it will penetrate
It's a
better.
Mashal. It's not the same word. The Rav has a seichel. It's a natural Mashal.